In our series on the literary devices of Proverbs, this section focuses on figurative language, which conveys meaning beyond the literal meaning of its words. Simile. A simile is a figure of speech that compares two things that are often dissimilar. The word like or as links them together and suggests a similarity. The principal term conveys the literal entity to be described, and the secondary term is used figuratively to add meaning. Sometimes, an explanation of the exact connection between these entities is provided. Otherwise, the listener or reader must ponder the similarities. https://literarydevices.net/simile. Example. Just let me say a word walks like feet. Who can rival a garrulous man? Sumerian Proverb Collection 3 hours 97 minutes. To illustrate the power of the words just let me say a word, principal and literal term, of a garrulous person, they are compared to feet, secondary and figurative term. The comparison is intended to show that, just as feet run and cannot be stopped, so too are the words just let me say a word. It doesn't remain just one word. Other examples. The beginning of strife is like breaching a dam, therefore stop contention before quarreling breaks out. Proverbs 17 verse 14. The words of a gossip are like dainty morsels. They go down into a person's innermost parts. Proverbs 18 verse 8. You are peering out from the parapet like the prince's nurse. Sumerian Proverb Collection 3:2. You keep walking around the storehouse like a pig with a morsel in its mouth. Sumerian Proverb Collection 3:144. Metaphor. The metaphor compares two things without using the words like or as. In other words, this literary device expresses the equivalence of two different things in one respect. https://literarydevices.net/metaphor. It becomes difficult with metaphors from a foreign culture or time when the imagery does not evoke the same associations in us as it does in the original target audience. Without familiarity with the terms used in Proverbs, it is difficult to form a mental picture or visualization of them. Hamid et al. 2018:145. To bridge the gap, we need more information. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but deceit in it crushes the spirit. Proverbs 15 verse 4. According to the Bible, at the beginning of human history, Genesis 3, the tree of life appears to be a real tree whose fruit gave life to those who ate it. In the Proverbs, it repeatedly appears as a metaphor for wise and righteous behavior. Such behavior is depicted as a tree of life because it has a beneficial effect on other people, giving them life, so to speak. Other examples. O my son, visit the poor in his affliction, and speak of him in the Sultan's presence, and do thy diligence to save him from the mouth of the lion. Ahikar 57. This is simpler. The lion is probably just a ruthless creditor who is taking advantage of the poor man's situation. The light of the righteous shines brightly, but Thelamphoth the wicked is snuffed out. Proverbs 13 verse 9. Light/lamp. It can be a metaphor for life energy. For some, the righteous, it increases; for others, the wicked, it decreases. Fools are therabcage of heroes. Sumerian Proverb Collection 3:102. Ribcage. The heroes reap the rewards for their deeds, but the fools, their soldiers, die for them. Analogy. Analogy is similar to a simile. A is like B. However, the analogy provides more details about the relationship between the two things, and thus becomes an argument. Analogies are often used to help readers understand complex or abstract ideas by comparing them to something more familiar. https://literary-devices.com/analogy. A common phrasing of analogy is first word is to second word, as third word is to fourth word. As coals are to hot embers, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindling strife. Proverbs 26 verse 21. However, this form is not very common in the ancient Near East. Analogies are often introduced with like or as, but the figurative part is then described in more detail than in the simile. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion. Proverbs 11 verse 22. In this example, the principal term is the beautiful woman who lacks discretion. Without the analogy introduced by, we might not realize what the problem is here. The secondary term, a gold ring and a pig's snout, gives an explanation. A pig and a gold ring are not bad things in themselves, but they are completely different and do not go together. The gold ring is a piece of jewelry, meant to emphasize beauty. But a pig is not beautiful. It lives in the mud. Just as the gold ring on the pig is a waste, so too is beauty in a woman without discretion. Other examples. O my son, withstand not a man in the days of his power, nor a river in the days of its flood. Ahikar 62. The first line contains the literal phrase, the second line the explanatory figurative phrase. Gifts being made to the small man, he acquires the greatness of the great man, even as does a brick built up with others. Ani 20. Like a city that is broken down and without walls is a man whose spirit is without restraint. Proverbs 25 verse 28. Fate is a dog, well able to bite. SPC 211. Metonymy. A thing or concept is called not by its own name but rather by the name of something associated in meaning with that thing or concept. Wikipedia.org/wiki/metonymy. Metonymy is similar to metaphor, but behind metonymy lies a concept that is even more deeply rooted than in metaphor. Contemporary example. White House. It's not just a house with white walls, it's the official residence of the President of the USA. Metonymy therefore works with placeholders, which is very efficient. See terseness. Instead of naming a concept in a complicated way, a much shorter placeholder, e.g., a symbol associated with the concept is used. The only problem, as with metaphors, is that the reader/listener may not always be familiar with this connection. He who is truly righteous gets life. He who pursues evil gets death. Proverbs 11 verse 19. Doesn't every person live and die? Here, life refers to a life of abundance, connected to the Creator and therefore blessed by Him. Death is the absence of this blessing due to the decision to do evil. Other examples. The wicked desires the plunder of evil men, but the root of the righteous flourishes. Proverbs 12 verse 12. A person's roots are what they truly desire. This shapes their development in a positive or negative way, depending on their choice of roots. He who is often rebuked and stiffens his neck will be destroyed suddenly, with no remedy. Proverbs 29 verse 1. A stiffened neck is an expression of an attitude that is unwilling to listen to reproof and subsequently change one's attitude and behavior. A vagrant flays the skin of an opened hand. Sumerian Proverb Collection 3:108. An open and outstretched hand represents compassion, generosity, and a willingness to help. Synecdoche. In synecdoche or pars pro toto, a part of something stands for the whole, e.g., soul for the whole person. It is not necessary for you to specifically remember the term synecdoche. It is sufficient if you can associate this form with metonymy. Examples. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked is perverse. Proverbs 10 verse 32. Lips or a mouth would not speak without the whole person behind them. My girlfriend's heart is a heart made for me. Sumerian Proverb Collection 1 hours 91 minutes. The heart represents the whole person, body, and soul. Fable. A fable is a short story that gives animals or plants a voice and human characteristics. It always has an educational purpose and therefore usually ends with a moral lesson. See literary devices. Net/fable. Examples. The elephant spoke to himself. There is nothing like me among all the creatures of Sakan. The wren answered him. But I, in my own small way, was created just as you were. Sumerian Proverb Collection 5:1. Lesson. No reason to be proud. Everyone is special, in their own way. The donkey, after he had thrown off his packs, said, Now I can't forget the burdens of former days. Sumerian Proverb Collection 539. Lesson. Consider the next step or consequences as well.